It's still there. We are. All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Another episode, another live edition of The Good Life. I'm Chris. Got Kevin in the building. What's up, Kev? How are you, bro?
Amazing.
Awesome. And then we got Kobi down here. Kobi, what's up, man?
How you doing? How you doing?
Life is good. Life is good. Guys, we're missing out on Stu tonight again. Priorities. We got to take care of our women. We got to take care of relationships. We got to do what we got to do. So, Stu is with us in spirit. But again, rocking with the three of us tonight. Thank you for everyone that's joining us live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube. Again, press that thumbs up button, subscribe, whatever you have to do. Let people know that we are here to give you the keys that you need to live a good life. So we're back with another week. And this week, last week, we talked about money. The week before that, talking about health. This week, talking about love, talking about relationships, talking about what that means and what it looks like to live healthy in your relational life, in your love life, and whatever that looks like to you. So we got the expert in the building, Kevin Crenshaw here. So Kev,
Holla, holla.
I'm gonna toss it over to you, man.
Awesome, brother.
Let's talk.
Let's do it. Let's dive in.
Yeah,
I wanted this to be more conversational. I obviously have my viewpoints on things, and this is what I do as a career. I'll give a brief intro for everybody, but I would love to hear from you guys as well, because I think we could all share wisdom, right? So, I always loved love as a kid. I didn't even get into contact sports because I didn't want to hurt people. Like, I was just like that, like angel. Like, I was an artist, right? And so, if you know anything about astrology, I'm a Pisces, so just like very go with the flow, into my emotions, and that's kind of helped me a lot in the work that I do. So I know it says Kevin Crenshaw on the screen right here, but my tag is the Heart Guy on Instagram, mainly because I deal with matters of the heart, and I help people with healing through breakups, healing codependency, breaking toxic relational cycles. The same thing keeps happening over and over again with the same person, with a different people every time, whatever it is. It's really about doing the inner work on you to shift that. There's a quote that's I'm going to butcher it, but it was something along the lines of your task is not to seek love, but to seek and destroy all the barriers against it that you built. And it's a Rumi quote, and that's basically what I help people do, because love is all there is. We just have these fears, or we have these that are stemmed from experiences of the past, whether that's with your parents and your caregivers, or exes, or anybody that was ever close to your heart, and they prevent us from opening up. They prevent us from being vulnerable, and so if there are toxic cycles, it's a mirror for you. One of the biggest things that I say is, like, say you have a teacher. You're a teacher and you have students, and one student keeps failing this test. You can give them study guides, you can give them extra time, but at the same time, they've got to pass the test, which means learn the lesson. And from a spiritual perspective, that's what's happening with us in relationships. If you go through the same thing, or there are patterns with ineffective communication or abandonment, all these other things, your soul is trying to learn a lesson. And the sooner you can learn that lesson and evolve and grow, then the sooner the cycle breaks. So,
wow, your soul is trying to learn a lesson. Mm-hmm. That is that is it right there, right? Like, I know you're leading this, Kev, but like, how are we supposed to go down that path of figuring out what our soul needs? Is that a question?
Yeah, it is. And I'm seeing it from like a soul's journey of, like, our souls are here to grow and expand and express and experience and learn from our life here. And so to evolve as a spirit is learning some of the deeper lessons about self. Mm-hmm. Your question was what again? I'm sorry, I'm just blanked.
No, it's just like, how does our, like, if our soul is going on this journey?
Yeah. So it's looking at the mirror of life, and I think a lot of people think that means, like, oh, I keep dating narcissists, that means I'm a narcissist. No, the mirror of life. But some people take it that way, right? Mm-hmm. The mirror of life is, okay, I keep dating a narcissist. So what does that say about me? That I'm choosing these people because it is a choice. That I'm going to these people, right? So I talk a lot about this because I mainly help empaths or people that have toxic relational cycles. Is my kind of area of expertise. And what it comes down to is, well, what does it say about you? Well, in order to get with somebody who can easily abuse another, they are going to have to be with somebody who can be abused and manipulated, which means you have a rocky self-worth. If you're solid in your self-worth, then you're not going to be led on by all that bullshit because you're like, I don't deserve this. Fuck, you'll get out. If you're seeking external validation and you don't really know who you are and all these other things, you'll get caught up in the words and strung along. So that's where it's like, whoa, and you really get to see yourself. This is the term shadow work, which is bringing the darkness to the light, bringing the things that you don't like about yourself or that you're avoiding or neglecting or that you don't even know is there to your conscious mind. And shadow work is tough because it's usually painful. You're like, fuck, like I'm not as awesome as I thought, or this is my fault, or taking that ownership. And the beauty of it on the other side, though, is after you take the ownership, you can actually heal things. So that's one aspect of what I do, is seeing the mirror in your patterns of your love life. And another big thing that I do is forgiveness. I mean, that really is a big part, especially emotionally. I've had a lot of clients come to me and they have trust issues in their relationship, and it's perfect relationship, but they keep having trust issues, and it's not on anything that their partner is doing. It's them, and they don't know where it's coming from. Then we have a few sessions and we realize it's coming from an ex from 10 years ago that they still are holding grudges on, or they don't trust themselves because of something that happened in the past. And so it's yeah. So it's going to forgiving the past and forgiving stuff that's not even in your conscious awareness is actually going to make space for a healthy relationship in the now, and you won't sabotage it. Part of self-love is receiving unconditional love from somebody else and not sabotaging it. Because we only accept the love we think we deserve. So if you choose somebody who's amazing, but you don't think you deserve it, you're going to sabotage it. And that's why self-love is so important. So I'm kind of going all over the place. I touch on the patterns in the relationships, self-love, but also like spiritually, you could say shadow work, you could say emotions. What emotions are you holding inside of you, projecting out into the world or internally? I had a client recently who was having anger problems, and he really wanted to stop. It was getting to the point of he was like, the cops were getting involved and shit. And he's like, this isn't me. I'm like, what the fuck's happening? He's been involved in gangs. He's gone to jail and all this other stuff. And he was so angry at himself. And so when your cup is full to the brim of anger or of sadness or in literally any emotion, and then the world, some external thing, a person, something on the news comes and triggers you in any way, makes you feel slightly uncomfortable, what's going to come out of your cup is what you're holding inside. So if you feel a lot of anger, then you're going to get angry and you're going to project it. But when you're pointing a finger, you have three pointing back at you. And so that's again more of the mirror of the world showing.
I'm curious, Kev, like, do you think that people really, like, they don't understand that? And I don't know, maybe it's my mental.
A lot don't.
Really? Like,
yeah, a lot don't.
I feel like people, and maybe it's that case, everyone kind of learns differently, but like, if you know that something is repeating or something is happening and you're blaming the external world, like you're blaming something outside of you, like eventually it
breaks. Exactly.
Right? It comes into play where it's like, that's probably me. Like, maybe I should look at
that. I mean, that was me. I was cheated on by my first 3 relationships. And then I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh, damn, it's me. But then I was like, because I was like, all women aren't cheaters, but that could be a go-to because based on my experience. And I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing or what am I not doing? And I realized I was codependent and needy. So I was almost like pushing them away because I was so clingy.
That's important. That's important to find out. Kobi, jump in, man. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, what I'm relating to right now is just how much the decisions that we make as children, right? I've heard a lot of terms for it, et cetera, but inner child, whatever you want to call it. But certain decisions we make when we encounter certain critical points in our childhood, and how that dictates our relationships with our loved ones, our relationship with ourselves, obviously first and foremost, in relationship with others, such as, when you're extremely embarrassed, right? I remember for me, when I first moved to the US, I was in a third grade class. I was just placed in there very quick. It was like, next thing I knew, I was sitting around with some weird kids learning some stuff. And I went to the restroom, which was the back of the bathroom. And for some reason I had like an accident, like I basically peed everywhere. Right. So I was in there trying to clean up, like third grade. Imagine third grade and be in there trying to clean up real quick, trying to figure out what's up. And it's not like outside of the room. So you can't like come out of once you come out of the bathroom, you're pretty much in the classroom. Right. And so this kid, I remember him like yesterday, Norris, goes in after me and yells, "Yeah, he peed everywhere." Everybody goes crazy. And I'm sitting there right then and there. I decide that basically that if I mess up or anything goes wrong, I'm going to try to like really hide it up as quickly as possible, or try to like clean it up as quickly as possible so nobody sees. Right. And I didn't realize that decision was made and how I handled things and approached things, and how that had influenced me quite a bit. Wanted to kind of get you guys' thoughts on that, and especially you, Kevin, to kind of, how do you see that with clients and people you work with, and what do you have, maybe a quick tip or exercise or something around that? That might help people kind of unlock themselves a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a few things there, right? Like that was when you're conceived till 7 is the biggest time frame for growth of your nervous system, and your brain stem and other things, which is how you're going to relate to the world. Your belief systems deep down, your emotional patterns, things. So especially at that age, we're very imprintable. So that would be something that you stick with. Whereas if that happened later in the road, you would have probably brushed it off, like, if you were way older. So one thing that I like to do with clients is going back to that experience as yourself now, almost in meditation, and revisiting it from a third party perspective. So don't go to the third grade you from your eyes then. See it as like the teacher, or see it as a bird on the window looking into the room, and observe your third grade self and making that meaning of things, and go, well, what actually happened? Because the truth will set you free. So what was the truth? The truth is you were 3 and you had an accident. Like, most people's most embarrassing stories involve urine. I just want you to know that. Like, it's that, or pooping their pants, or having an accident. Okay. And like, okay, you had an accident. Like, that was the truth. And the truth is that kid you probably would have done the same thing. What the heck? And then everybody else. So like, the truth is you were just a third grade kid and you had an accident. It has nothing to do with you messing up. You can see that though from a third person perspective, going, damn, like that third grade me really internalized that and made it about him. And it's actually, he didn't mess up, and actually he didn't have to hide anything. And he was just trying to make things the way that they were because he thought he messed up, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. That internal, like, coming to that place with your third grade you, and connecting to that truth is huge. And then processing it emotionally. So a lot of what I do is shifting your nervous system, because it's not just mindset work that I work on. If you want to change somebody's life, you have to change their nervous system, which is the sensations that are happening in your body, right? You have your heart rate goes up or down. get hot, or you get cold, or you start breathing deep, or you stop breathing. There's sensations that are going on constantly in the body, and from those sensations are created emotions. So the corners of my mouth go up, and I start getting this light feeling in my chest, and I breathe fully. It means I'm getting happy. And then from that state, you create thousands of thoughts. So you can change your energy with your conscious thoughts a little bit for a season, but then the subconscious is deeper than that. So you bring your mind to change the emotions, and then you let the emotions process. You got to feel it to heal it. So a lot of it is, whether it's in a meditation and a visualization exercise or something, allowing that stuck emotion that's still in your nervous system because it's creating a pattern to process. And this literally is like clearing out the neurochemical connections so that electricity can run through your nervous system. It's stuck. And so it's creating a loop and the same belief over and over again. It's not in changing the belief that's going to change your life. It's in processing that emotion from maybe embarrassment, or maybe you needed to cry and like actually feel it safely. It's okay to feel that. But almost like go there in your psyche for a second, let it out. Maybe it's a single tear. Maybe you just like feel some sort of way and then it's gone. But that shift will help the mindset thing. It won't come back. So actually every process that I give my clients is not just mindset shifts. It's the truth will set you free. What's the truth here? We're getting that right perspective, and then we're shifting the nervous system to complete an emotional loop so that you don't repeat the pattern, so that you can actually integrate the lesson.
Yeah, that's good, man. What are you seeing people struggling with the most when they're coming to you, like relationally?
Letting go, holding on to grudges, holding on to shame or blaming themselves, holding on to an ex and they want to let go and they can't. It's been 5 years. It's attachments, attached to outcomes. And I think a lot of this comes from everybody. In every human, our deepest fear is that we're not enough. And if we're not enough, we won't be loved. And if we're not loved, then we're going to die. Now, that's because failure to thrive is actually a thing where if a newborn isn't physically touched in a certain amount of time, it'll die. We need human connection and touch and love. But also, human species evolved and survived because we stuck together in tribes, right? If you were excluded from the tribe, you were, it's harsh weather conditions, there's saber-toothed tigers and shit, you were going to die. So you needed to stay with your tribe, and that part of our animal brain is still there. So we literally reject or equate rejection to death still. That's why rejection is so like emotionally charged for every human. So if you're not enough, you won't be loved. And if you're not loved, then you're going to be rejected. And if you're rejected, you're going to die. And the enoughness thing is where overachieving or overworking or being overly funny or overly anything is, let me get attention. So bringing it back to the inner child stuff, let's say that your parents didn't really pay attention to you one day, then you fell and hit your head and you really started crying. Then they came, you subconsciously in that moment, even if you were 2, linked, if I get pain, I get attention. So then this person's always throwing pity parties all the time, or they always have something wrong with them. And it's a subconscious plea for connection because that's what their nervous system knows.
Yeah.
The same could be said with somebody who is really funny, right? Like somebody, the kid's trying to get attention, nothing's happening. They do something and everybody else laughs. And then they're like, oh, if I'm funny, then I'll be liked.
Yeah.
So it's what we learn in that regard.
That makes sense. By the way, I think
he said he lost power.
Yeah, I think Kobi just lost power. He's not in Texas. He's in California. But either way.
Really? Oh, shit.
Yeah. But either way, he said he lost some power. But we're still here, man. That makes sense, Kev, right? Like, kind of thinking back, because talk about this relationship side. And the reason why, again, for people that are joining us or just watching and paying attention, like the reason we're talking about love, relationships, those things, is because relationships are an integral part of your life and an integral part of living the good life. It doesn't make sense to get to wherever you think you want to get to in life and have no one around you and no one to share it with, and no relationship with your family, and no relationship with your children, and no relationship with anyone. Like, that is not the good life. We need this, right? Like, we need to be able to feel what it means to be connected to one another, right? Like, that is the case. So the things that we start thinking about and paying attention to that you're going into, Kev, is really about like the reasons why it's hard to stay in connection with people, right? I've been married, going on July of this year makes 10 years married, 13 years together with my wife. And it's been one of the hardest things to do, right? Like, one of the hardest things. And normally the hardest things in life become the most rewarding things in life. That's why you do the hard things. But just having two individuals from two completely different backgrounds, with two completely different life experiences, with two different ways of seeing life, with two different visions, coming together to become one and head down the same path, it's a very difficult thing. That's in the marriage side, right? It's difficult to not have good relationships with your children. It's not, or your parents, right? But all these things are the relational parts of our life that we have to get in order if we want to live that good life. And so a lot of these things you're saying, they come from childhood. They come from how we interpreted something, the story we told ourselves about something that happened. So if you're finding that, you're falling in the same relationships, or you have the same feelings and you think it's other people, it's really you. And we have to go back into this place of understanding, like, how did we get here, right? How did we get here? What is it? And, Maslow's hierarchy, and right, self-actualization, self-mastery is at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Why? Because the goal of life is to get to understand who you are, what you're about, what you stand, who you are, and then you can come into relationship with other people. Kevin, I think you said it right about making sure your cup is full. Right? If you make sure your cup is full, that's the only way to have successful relationships, that you can overflow and pour more into other people and have that be a success because you've done the work on yourself. So you're hitting the nail on the head. Like, all this stuff it's 100% internal work, right? Internal work to understand why, our relationships either work or they don't work,
Yep.
So.
And a lot on relationships too, as I had mentioned earlier, was like on, you don't want to like get the right person and then sabotage it. And that a lot of that, so it comes to self-love, but it also comes to compatibility. And I think this is something that goes overlooked a lot in relationships, or especially my industry, is, people wanting to make it work so much and learn effective communication and learn boundaries and learn like all the things to make it work. But at some point, you've got to recognize if you're actually compatible with the person. And you want to find that out earlier on than, later. But that's a huge bit that people don't necessarily see. And
how do you, right? Like, how do you figure that out?
Yeah. So you have to have sexual chemistry, number one. You got to be into them physically. If that's not there, you can't force it. You'll end up cheating. They'll end up leaving. Something will happen. So that really has to be there, and sustain it, which is meaning, both of you guys continuing on the path of health and fitness and other things. I really feel that that's seen as surface level, and to some extent it is compared to the deeper stuff in the relationship, but primally as an animal, and a human animal at that, it's important. So that needs to be there. You also have to have if you were to list out all your values in order, you would both have to have some similarity in your top two. For example, if you value integrity a lot, that person needs to value like your number one value is integrity, then theirs needs to be one or two, right? Or if you're valuing health and vitality is high up there, they need to value it as well. Because if somebody values uncertainty and variety, and one person values certainty, try going on a vacation with that person. One person's like, oh yeah, we'll just plan it, like we'll just get there and we'll see what happens. The other person's like, got to plan everything. It's going to freak them out. It's going to be really tough to make that work. So there's that.
Another, real quick, Kev, like there's another side to that too, right? Like the opposites also are needed in the relationship.
They are,
right?
I'm talking like top value, like needing it, because opposites do attract, and that is an important factor to things, and especially polarity, which we can get into masculine, feminine, and energy here in a bit, because you need to have that polarity. But what I'm speaking to is like if somebody's so tied to always having to feel certain about things and somebody else is not, you can make it work. Again, if you have another value system that's similar. But is that making sense? That's why I said like the top 2, 3 need to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last one is you got to be going in the same direction, which is again, kind of value systems, but like at least willingness. Are you willing to work on the relationship with this person? Are you able to work on the relationship with this person? Right? Like, do you have the emotional maturity, the capacity to in your life? That's really it.
Yeah. This person, R. Simpson, they don't have a picture on LinkedIn, but is that financial strains affect relationships in various ways as well. You're either going to support each other and grow together, or you're going to go your separate ways. So again, lots of components to this thing of making sure that we're living, the good life in our relationships. But those are just a few other things. That compatibility part, they also said, right? That's just true. It's true. You got to be compatible. So welcome back, Code. Hey, Code.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it the
power? Where am I?
I was joking with everyone when you logged off. It was going to be, or I was like, he's not even in Texas, right? Like, he's not even in Texas. He's in California. So
it's crazy. But I last little bit that I had a thought. Kevin, you were talking about a few things there, and one thing that really kind of hit me as it relates to the work I do and what we're discussing today is the importance of you got to feel it to heal it. Is the phrase you said. Feel it to heal it. I knew it was coming to me. The thing there was how true that is in so many different arenas. I think in the physical realm, there's a lot of products sold to numb pain, right?
Yeah.
So I'll do like 2 specific areas. One being, let's say, feet and footwear. We've completely modified our physical feet and how it functions, and all the way up the chain as a result of how footwear has progressed to provide more cushioning and provide more stability. And when in actuality, it's continuing to make our feet worse and worse and worse, and our entire body, everything just worse, and disconnect us from the earth. And it's sold as like something that helps with pain, right? I think we always have to pay attention to that whenever products and things are sold, just to kind of disconnect us from pain rather than seeking what the source of the pain is and healing the pain. So that's just one example that kind of really resonated with me, and something we're doing continuously. Like, we interject into an already complete, we being humans, interject into an already complete system, try to make it better, and we tend to make it worse, and then provide usually solutions that we have to purchase, right, to solve a lot of these issues as well. And then you also mentioned a piece that reminded me of just how important coming back to the breath is, and the idea of I've mentioned this before, of disease being really a sense of literally dis-ease, right? Blockage in the system. I think it goes not just physically. You spoke on it on the neuron level. I think it's important to recognize that these patterns are consistent, and they're consistent in so many different areas. So the feedback system is It's so important, and goes back to even bringing in the practice of kind of like gratitude, right? Like, yeah, things are uncomfortable right now. Yeah, things are whatever right now. But you know what? There's a purpose for it, right? It's not just being like
Right.
wishfully, oh, things are great, but recognizing the purpose of the seasons, right? The
Mhm.
purpose is winter is cold right now, but there's a purpose here. I think goes a long way to really help us from creating these stoppages and blockages in our system that leads to so much more pain in the future.
Definitely. Straight
Yeah.
up. Well, you're talking about that. And it kind of goes in with shadow work too, of avoiding pain. Like
Mm.
I mentioned that the greatest fear of everybody is that if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And the greatest joy is to love and be loved.
Mm.
And that's like the biggest push pull of it all. That's why we achieve. That's why, like, deep down, any of us are doing anything that we're doing, I feel.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to make the world a better place, it is for love. And it's not just relational love. There's many different forms of love, as the Greeks defined. So, yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. And again, understanding what you just said, Kev, like that there's many different forms of love,
Yeah.
but that is what gives us the greatest joy. Like that's as human beings, that's what we're here, right? Like we're here to connect. Like
Yeah.
that's what we need. And so your ability to, if you're one of those people that just say, I don't like people, or I can never keep a man, or I can never keep a woman, or like you're saying things that like are hindering you from getting to your best life. Like you have to be connected to people. And
Well, I feel like, yeah, I mean, definitely to get ahead in any way, like it's not what you know, it's who you know to an extent, right?
sure.
And I'll say too, like, I think we here all have really good self-awareness, right? Like Chris, you were saying how, like, do people really think that? Or like, what? And it's like, yeah, like, I did back in the day, and self-awareness is so key to observe yourself,
Yeah.
be aware of
Mm.
what you're aware of, to think about what you're thinking about, right? Like,
Mhm.
that is going to be huge in all of it. And unconditional love starts where self-judgment ends. So when you stop beating yourself up and judging yourself for what you're doing and how you're doing it, and or getting caught up in drama, always pointing the finger externally and never looking inward, and you cut the noise, right? You're gonna sit with yourself and get curious instead of furious about your thoughts and your way of being. That's how you're able to evolve, learn the lessons, navigate it all so much faster, as opposed to, dang it, why is this happening? It shouldn't be happening, because then you're shitting all over yourself, and it's not fun for anybody.
It's true.
Yeah.
Judging yourself is such a big thing that people deal with, right? Like
Right.
we judge ourselves
And
like crazy.
yeah, and so with any of the shadow archetypes, which is what I feel that is, right? You're beating yourself up. You get a loud inner critic. You don't want to fight it away, because I think that's what most people try to do. They're like, fuck this voice. Why is this happening? And this voice is loud at them. They try to get louder, and then it's just this back and forth, and then you're arguing, and it's winning. How do you stop when there's resistance? There's pushback. How do you stop? You stop pushing back.
Stop pushing.
Exactly, which means you love it away versus fighting it away. And how I equate that is you see it with compassion. And this is where you can really start to learn compassion for other people, by seeing it within yourself, going, whoa, my inner critic is here to keep me safe. I'll say that again for all y'all in the back that weren't listening. My inner critic is here to keep me safe. It's just ineffective sometimes, actually a lot of the times. Right?
Absolutely.
It's just, but that's the essence of what it's trying to do. And when you can see that and go, thanks for bringing that up, but that's actually not true. I'm going to choose this truth. Again, the truth will set you free. You get to choose. That your inner critic's not in the driver's seat of your psyche anymore. It's your higher self. Then it's honored, acknowledged, and deemed as false, and you'll be fine. Versus trying to wrestle with it or fight it or shove it away. Get out of here. I didn't ask you, because that's going to just evoke it even more. Think of it as a personality in your psyche, because it is. So, and, you know, sometimes having a loud inner critic can be a good thing, right? Like you get shit done. You say, quit being a little bitch, and you start working, right? Like it's both and. It's just noticing when to use it.
That's true. That's good. In those relationships, though, like I think that happens a lot, where it's really just our inner voice, right? It's really just that inner talk that we're judging ourselves, like, why am I this way? Why couldn't I do this? Why doesn't this happen? And the word you said, compassion, I say empathy, or right, grace, right? Just giving ourselves grace, giving ourselves right empathy for like what we've been through or what we've seen, like just how we are. That allows you, this is what you're saying, Kev, this allows you to do that for the other person. This allows you to give great, like you judge yourself and then you judge others. If you stop judging yourself, you'll stop judging others. You'll stop judging your partner. You'll stop some of those areas that are causing the conflict in the relationship. You'll stop judging your kids. Like you'll stop, because you'll give them grace and have empathy for what they're seeing and what they're going through. But you have to do that for yourself first. Because if you don't do it for yourself, you can't do it for someone else. And that becomes that inner work again, right?
Yep. Totally.
I thought you might have something to say. Kobi, jump in.
Yeah. Kevin, man, I wanted to get you to expand a little bit here on like the connection of the breath to all of this, right? The connection of the breath to moments of trauma, or when we create these anchors in our life, the breath to silence in the mind, the breath. I want you to expand on that a little bit, because that connection is so huge, and we were kind of starting.
Huge. I had a mentor of mine who was very wise, and she said this because she knew I go by the heart guy, and she said, "What if your breath was the thing that made your heart beat?" Yep. And I was like, okay.
All right, pack it up. We're done. It's finished. It is over.
Yeah.
It's over. Oh man, this is Kenny Smith at the dunk contest. It is finished. It is over. Goosebumps. Oh my God.
Yeah. How would you breathe?
Oh man.
That's exactly how I reacted. How would you breathe if your breath was what made your heart beat? Because here's the thing: when the freeze response in your nervous system is that, like, sensing immense amount of danger. So you lock up and you don't breathe. And so then to bring the breath back to the body is literally feeling it to heal it. It's processing emotions. You can do, breath work and other things to really work through this. And a lot of, if you think about it to a degree, while it's subconscious, you're controlling your breath. You're stopping it because it's dangerous to breathe, or because you're freezing from a traumatic experience. It could be an emotionally traumatic experience, whatever. And it creates, again, like all trauma is stored in the body. So it's created this blockage that then sets the pattern for your way of breathing. A lot of people don't breathe properly. They breathe up here versus in your stomach, and then a bunch of other things, right? So it's not because you didn't learn it in school. You naturally started breathing correctly as a baby. We learned how to not be through the blockages, as I talked about in that quote. It's the blockages of love, or the blockages of you being yourself, and it's a control. I'm going to be something different than I am right now, because what I am isn't enough. And if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And if I'm not loved, I'll get rejected, then I'll die. Right? So you have to, in that psyche, you have to be somebody different. You have to do something different. You have to control things, how people view you. And that form of control is the attachments, as I was talking to earlier, that keep people stuck. And so when you learn to let go, you're able to breathe easy. You have more inner peace, and how you breathe is the tempo at which your life is. You know, if you're, ooh, why is this just now coming to me? Love is like breathing. You inhale, receive, and you exhale, and you give. Now, if I just at some point I can't anymore inhale. That's somebody who's just a taker all the time. They're scared to give. Somebody who's codependent, they're giving, and they can't exhale anymore. At some point, you've got to receive. Now, some people are so fucking scared of love, they're breathing super shallow. Or you can breathe super easy, full deep breaths. How you breathe is your relationship with love, naturally. If you're breathing shallow, if you're holding your breath a lot, it is how you're relating to love and value and worth and all of those things. It's a huge indicator because how you breathe is the tempo of your life. So I love that you brought that up, dude.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, you know, go ahead and shack it down.
Yeah.
That's all I do, man. It's just that critical, man. And I've been, Chris, you're reading Oxygen Advantage right now. A huge must for anybody, everybody, every single body that breathes. And it's just the connections keep on coming. They literally just keep on coming. And I mentioned this at some point. It really comes down to consumption and breath. And as I said that, I'm now finding out all of the links, right? Whether it's with Chris and money, whether it's with your relationships and love, whether it's and Stu next, I'm sure. It really does all come down to what are you consuming and how are you breathing, because it connects to just so many other things. So I think it's one we can't spend enough time on. I wanted to get your thoughts as well, Kevin, especially you, but obviously Chris as well. A book that's been, you guys know, I'm all about the books, man. You gotta stay on there. A book that's been really powerful in this area of life for me has been two, actually, by Esther Perel. Esther Perel, and it's called Mating in Captivity. And it's one that shook me a little bit and had me shifted my paradigm. Right, I had one way of looking at things and how love is supposed to be, marriage is supposed to be, relationship is supposed to be, and then this book there just kind of shifted me a little bit and forced me to think, all right, maybe I didn't look at everything. Maybe there's something else I didn't consider. You guys heard of, recommend, or anything?
I love Esther's work. It's amazing, and then she's very cultured, so she's not viewing it through one culture's lens, which is awesome. She's looking at humanity as a whole, and you know, she has YouTube stuff. For anybody listening, like, y'all go look at her stuff on YouTube. So yeah,
say her name again. What's
Esther Perel.
Esther Perel. Got you. And the name of the
awesome
book
podcast as well. I forget what it's called, where she actually does clinical work, and you get to be a fly on the wall and check out the work that she's doing with her clients, which is was crazy to me. That was kind of cool for me to see examples like, all right, I do that too. All right.
Get it? Yeah, I haven't heard of those, but like I'm glad you're dropping these gems because I've never heard of her. And again, this is the key of getting deeper into any one area that you don't have expertise in, is learning about all of the different authors, all the different resources that are out there, so it can shift your paradigm. That's what needs to happen in all these areas. The reason why we're having these conversations, because everyone needs a paradigm shift in each of these areas, each of health, wealth, love, happiness. Like, you need the paradigm shift. And so resources like that, books like that, right? You said she has a podcast or some things, right, too?
Yeah, definitely. I'll look it up here as we chat. But it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So
clinical work with couples. My back.
No, yeah, you're good.
All right. They're trying to silence me, but they won't succeed.
Hey.
But yeah, it's great stuff. The book is great. The podcast is great, and I actually haven't checked out too much for YouTube stuff, but I'm sure it's good stuff as well. But really lays down the work and gives. I think she's very hopeful, and which is what I like about her as well. It's like it gives you hope. It's not all doom and gloom.
It's good. That's good. Did you have a follow-up, Kevin? I don't know if you had anything.
I love her work. Definitely, everybody tuning in should do a deeper dive on it.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Kind of as we're getting wrapped up, I see Danette said that Clubhouse might be down. So if you guys don't know,
Clubhouse is down.
Yeah, I know, right? Like
the platform is down.
Yeah, like the platform is down. You know that they're getting when they get a lot of traction. Like if there's a lot of people on, the app is still so new that like it'll shut down here and there. Like I remember when not to switch the conversation, but like when Elon Musk was just on Clubhouse, it basically froze for a few minutes, right? Like it froze. Wow. Like you couldn't get out of a room or into a room. But anyway, we're still supposed to go there afterwards. We'll see if it's down or not. But let's kind of wrap up this conversation again because hitting these points. You guys are bringing up so many things. Kevin, you brought up so much stuff like that probably people aren't even thinking about when we're talking about love, right? We're talking about your relationships, right? We're talking about all these things. Most times people are not even paying attention to their breathing.
Right.
Hey, when's the last time someone had that conversation? Really the root of this is, right, your energy, your breathing, what you're doing on that inner work. So, I don't know if you have a few tips, right? Some people that are thinking, okay, now I do want to start getting better in this area. I want to start growing in my relationships in general. I need to start doing that inner work. Is the self-awareness the first spot? What's the first?
It is. Yep. And so mindfulness meditations, which is just, again, sitting and being aware of what you're aware of, is going to be step number one, whether that's journaling or going on a walk and talking it out in an audio note to yourself. Do something to process and have that non-judgmental awareness and just see what is. Like, oh, my shirt is black versus fuck, I wanted a blue shirt. Like, you know what I mean? You can't just judge this stuff. Yeah. See it for what it is and go, oh, this is what my thoughts are. Interesting. I don't want that. I want something different. Cool. Let me pivot and move. Yeah. Versus this whole inner dialogue thing. The sooner you can get to that, the sooner you can have passion for yourself. You can start forgiveness work. Then you can have more effective conversations with other people because you're not seeing it as an attack from them.
Big.
Right. Yeah. And even if it may, they raise their voice and they come off harsh, you'll see the compassion bit. We didn't get much into effective communication today, but every connection or communication, anytime that somebody's communicating, it's a loving response or a cry for help. So it's either a loving response or a cry for help. Now, if somebody's angry and pissed off, which one do you think that is?
Cry for help.
Cry for help.
Yeah. And so when you can see that with compassion and look for their wounded inner child and go, whoa, what are they not feeling? How can I support that? And lose the words that they're saying. You won't take things personally. You'll see them with compassion. That's healing.
That's hard, man. That is the hardest. Again, right? I've talked to my wife about this. We've eliminated the word hard out of our vocabulary, right? We try not to say that at all because life is hard, right? Everything's hard. It is what it is. But this is one of the things that challenges so many people, right? It's being able to do some of those things. So again, for anyone that's listening right now and you want to get into this process of building a better relationship, feeling better about yourself and the people that are around you and you're around and the people you're giving love to, right? Starts with that inner work, starts with that self-awareness. Starts with you really taking a look and seeing hey, what do I need to fix? Where do I sit in some of these areas? And we talked about this entire show, going all the way back. Was there childhood trauma? Were there triggers? Were there these anchors in your life that you then said, well, I have to be this way now, right? From that one experience, now you have to be a certain way, or you have to do a certain thing or react a certain way. Can you go back? By the way, this is like what therapy does too, guys, right? Like this is what you start doing, is you start like really unraveling and start figuring out like where did this thing turn, right? Where did it turn? And then, like you said, Kev, going back to that place and then looking at what actually happened, giving yourself the grace, like Kobi, to be like, I was in third grade. Like, I get it. Like, I get it, you know, and doing that work, I think it's what eventually builds better relationships for you and those around you.
Yeah. We're looking at what happened. And I think asking yourself, what did I make it mean? Like, what did I create out of that? And to kind of, I think we got time for one more story here. One, for me, I realized this may be a pattern as well for, I think, well, you know, but decide it for yourself is a fact. But for me, one thing I realized was, as growing up in the environment that I did, as the oldest of five, you know, really taking it upon myself to be ultra responsible, to grow up pretty quickly. One thing I created out of a series of meetings, we could go through it, never, but is that I needed to be a man and grow up and provide, and like I gotta hold it down for everybody. And the truth of the matter is, like, you know, it was me and my mom for a while, and that's what that's the identity I created for myself. And truthfully, you know what? Nobody needed it from me. Yeah, no, sit down, brother, relax. Nobody really actually needs that. Sure, it's helpful, and it gets you. It's kind of your winning formula. It gets you a lot of things in life, you know, when you're. But at some points, like Kevin said, does it serve you anymore? You know, can you rest that like overprotective soldier? Can you rest that whatever identity you created for yourself at that particular time to survive? Can you give it a rest? You know, I think that for me was huge. Just somebody having that simple conversation with me is like, maybe you can relax, man. Maybe it's not that serious. Maybe everyone won't die if you just don't work really hard for one day.
I've had the same thing. I get you on that. Yeah.
1,000% true, man. And again, these are the things that we have to learn. We have to learn. At some point, you had that realization, that understanding of like, I don't have to be this way. Right? I can change this about me. And because I can change this, right, I will have better outcomes. I'll have different outcomes. I'll have better relationships, like whatever it is, right? Like that's that inner work. That is the stuff that we have to continue to do, right? We have to make sure that if we want to live our best life in our relationships and live the good life and really get to the place where we have people around us, relationships around us, things around us that support us and we can support, right? That love, the joy that we get from loving, that we have to start this work early. And that becomes the message. That becomes the message, right? If you're chasing, if you always think it's somebody else, or right, the people you choose or your parents, or right, it's you. And so once you realize it's you, then you can go to work. You can go to work being like, how did I get this way? Like, what is it? And then back to grace, back to compassion, back to right. Just, all right.
I like that.
I'm great. Like I'm good. I'm okay. Then I can now give that to my partner. I can give that to my children. I can give that to any of the people I'm building relationships with, my business partners, any of them, because I'm okay. And so, you know, people not being okay, and I think it's more of a reflection on them. It's more of a reflection on them. If you know you're good, but it's somebody, like, that's a reflection on you. So either way, that's my 2 cents. Kev, kind of wrap us up here. What's your final thoughts on just what people should be doing, how they should be thinking about perfecting this relationship side of things?
Whether you're single and you don't want to be in a relationship, or you're in a committed relationship and you want to make things work, or you want to make things even better than they are, love isn't something that you have to go get. It's something you allow. So see where you're not allowing it. Whether that's for yourself or other people. And when you can start to feel that and feel safe in that, again, then you can start to thrive and have good love, as we've been talking about.
There we go. That's it.
Awesome.
That's it, guys. So hey, we're gonna wrap this one up tonight. We're talking about love. We're talking about relationships, and this is one of the most important. Again, these critical 4: health, wealth, love, happiness. Getting all these areas right, and you will live the good life. You'll get to that place where you're content, you feel good, you're fulfilled, your financial life is good, your health is good, your relationships are great, you're just in general happy, fulfilled in life. That becomes the good life. So we have to start doing this work right away. We want to come give you guys value. For everyone that's listening, thank you. For everyone that's that's on LinkedIn watching us, thank you. For everybody that's on YouTube, we're coming to just give you information, give you valuable things that you can start to process, and then maybe start to become more self-aware, right? Start to really go down this journey. If you have goals and dreams and desires of fixing your relationships or fixing your health or getting to the best, the places in life that you deserve to be, well, then we have to start to do the work. And a lot of times there's some education, there's some things missing, there's some information missing that you need to really go and do what you want to do. So we're here to provide you some of that information. Hopefully everyone that's listening, you got a chance to take something from this, and now you can apply it. If not, reach out to Kevin, reach out to me, reach out to Kobi. Stu's not on. Like I said, he's, taking care of his relationships and the things that are important. So reach out to him, right? At the end of the day, we want to be resources for you guys. Follow us on all these platforms. The Good Life 4 on Facebook. That is the actual page for this live streaming show, The Good Life 4 on Facebook. And you can go there, like the page. So every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're jumping on and we're going to give you guys some more tips, tools, just great, insightful conversation about what we need to do to get to that good life. And then right after, which is where we're going now, because Danette came back on and said we could keep this thing going. She was like, we can keep it going because Clubhouse is back up. We are jumping on Clubhouse 9 p.m. right now, literally 3 minutes from now. We're jumping on Clubhouse. We're going to continue the discussion. Anyone that wants to jump in there with us, we can continue to have the conversation. Most importantly, you can come up, you can ask some questions. We can start to engage and interact with you because we really want to be able to provide as much value as possible to get you to where you need to be. So until next Thursday, guys, we're going to sign off. We're going to come back again next Thursday and rock it out. But for now, jump over on Clubhouse. Follow us over there and engage with us in Clubhouse so we can finish this conversation. You guys enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. We're signing off.
See you in Clubhouse.
Here we go.
Good health, baby.